Bless. Dan, what's the count? Only in school transportation.
No. We're going to come back together. Maybe they got confused and they're in another class. And I said, they're over at East in the laboratory.
All right, it's 8 o'clock, and I did say I want to start right at 8. We have to wait on the lease to come back. Somebody pulled the SD card out of that camera, and I needed to record the meeting. So be patient, I appreciate it. And maybe we'll give a couple more minutes for our colleagues to show up. If not, we will certainly move forward. And we'll catch up with them later. Sure. See if you can open the door, Dan. Front door there. You're just lucky we're not doing this in the afternoon. It was ungodly hot, especially the auditorium in high school east, because the air conditioner is not working. Lori, can you hear me? That was good, Lori. I thought you were going to try to speak while you're drinking. So what a unique time, right? You got people in 4 different locations. Oh my God, who's that?
She's got her drink.
Dan, if you want to sit, it's fine. Or you can wait out there a few more minutes, see if someone else is going to show up. So good morning, all. Here at High School West and High School East. Thank you so very much for coming to the annual safety refresher. Unlike prior years, this is going to be a shortened session. I know you'll be happy about that. Hopefully 3 hours and we're done and we're out of here. If it's a little bit hot where you are, I apologize for that. There are some things beyond our control. As you can see the agenda for today, I'm going to go over some department information, and then I'll turn it over to Dan. He will do the core number 1, which is an SED mandated topic, signals and sites. And core number 2, Elise, our other school bus driver instructor, will talk about your frame of mind makes a difference. And what an opportune time to be talking about the frame of mind, because we really have to change our frame of mind as we deal with this pandemic and the uncertainties of the school reopening, the schools reopening. There's a lot of things that, we can't control, a lot of things we haven't experienced yet. I was just telling Ken about a question I was asked last night by a parent. Will my children be on the bus longer? Technically, yes, they will be. And the reason for that is because of the loading time frame, for example, in the afternoon, and vice versa in the morning when you offload. It's not going to be typical. We're not all the buses going to be there and throw their doors wide open and all the kids discharge at the same time. That will not happen. And we'll talk more about that in detail. So we're certainly are facing some unique situations in some unique times. And the only way we're going to be able to get through this, whatever the uncertainties that we're going to face, is for us to work together, right? And I'm going to comment more on that as the class proceeds. So first, I want to talk about COVID symptoms. And again, I'm not saying that you guys have not been doing your homework, whatever, but I was reading an article here a couple of days ago, and this was an article about a recent study that was conducted by the University of Southern California, and it was published in the Frontiers in Public Health Journal. And they said is that the earliest signs of coronavirus will most likely be a fever in infected patients, followed by a cough and muscle pain. And then people will experience nausea and vomiting and diarrhea after that. And it's important, this order is especially important to know when we have overlapping cycles of illness like the flu. The flu, because of the COVID, isn't going to go away. It's not going to take a back seat. The flu will be here before you know it. So, and the flu will coincide with infections of COVID-19. So I share this with you because not only will we have to worry about the COVID, but also the normal flu season and how we deal with that. You will need to know what is going on, right, with your own body so that you can make the correct health decisions. And especially so when you have to answer the questions that are on the self-certified form. Please note, make sure you're reading all the information on each one of those questions, right? Because to me, the most important words on there is unexplained symptoms. If you cannot explain a symptom, then the answer should be a yes, right? I am experiencing unexplained symptoms. Like if I played basketball last night, and I haven't done it in so many years now, right? Guarantee you my muscle's going to be sore tomorrow. So that is explained. But if I wake up with sore muscles, that's unexplained, right? So keep that in mind. So we need what we need to do to abate the flu and COVID is really some common sense things. One of them is thorough hand washing as often as you can, because we touch a lot of surfaces that could be infected with different things, right? So thorough hand washing at all times. Get the flu vaccine if you can tolerate it. I know some people don't believe in vaccines. I do. I've been taking the flu vaccine every year since it came out, every year. Don't miss a dose. It does not keep me from catching the flu. What it does is help me deal with the flu better, right? It abates some of the effects of that. And of course, wearing of the face covering, that is a must. And we're not going to get away from it. And just so you know, wearing a face mask is really to protect you from me. That's how it is, to protect you from me. So we're going to keep talking about face covering. It is mandatory. And those are, you know, when we talk PPE or you hear on the news PPE or people talking about PPE, that's personal protective equipment. This is a personal protective equipment. Vigorous hand washing, no touching of the face, mouth, or eyes. You have to, again, you know, change that mindset. You know, if your eye is itching, maybe you want to use your elbow or something, your upper arm, what have you. But that's how the infections get inside your bodies when you touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. And of course, social distancing. So this year, and I passed that on to the parents last night on a live stream meeting from the district office. From day one, we will have seat assignments. You need to create those seat assignments as soon as you bid on whatever it is you're going to bid on and get your routing information. You got to sit down and make those seat assignments. And as you're picking up on the first day, you got to tell them, go back to the fourth row, you're by the window, you're by the aisle, whatever the case might be. It's going to take some time, but we got to get into that mode from day one, from the first stop. And the reason for that is, the reason why we need to know that is for contact tracing. It would be absolutely impossible to try to figure out who sat next to whom should there be a case on one of the buses. And you'll be required to take attendance daily. On the attendance sheet, before it just had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you will have that now ×2 for 2 weeks. And you will also be checking if the student has a mask on or not. Again, that is an absolute must that you do that, because if there's a positive case of COVID on the bus, the county health is going to ask us who was wearing a mask and who was not. And we have to go back. Typically, they start 2 days back. In some cases, they've gone back 10 days. So you can imagine that's a lot of data, a lot of information. And so we cannot be skimping on that at all. And we cannot be pencil whipping that. You are key to helping us to maintain a healthy environment. Again, face covering for students. You'll be carrying 10 extra masks like these on your bus. If you are using them, come in and get more, right? Don't leave the bus compound without having at least 10 extra masks to give out to students who may be attempting to board the bus and don't have one. We'll help them once, we'll help them twice, but after that, I need to know who's the habitual non-mask wearer, so we can get the school administration involved and get the parents involved. Some kids, because of health issues, even on the regular ed side of the house, will not be able to tolerate a face mask. So not every case is it going to be, you know, where that kid is not going to ride anymore. Let the parents drive. So if a kid doesn't have a face mask on, then we have to move other kids away from that individual. Offloading and loading. We got to teach, again, from day one, the kids got to stay 6 feet apart while they're waiting for you to pull up. They got to go directly to their assigned seats. Even when they're boarding that bus, they need to be 6 feet apart, not typically up close and the shoving and all that. You got to put a stop to it. And if kids are not compliant, you need to report that. When you get to the bus board, unlike previous, where, as soon as you pull up and secure the bus, kids are out of their seats, this and that. That's an absolute no-no. You will need to get on the PA system or stand up, face them, and tell them to sit down, stay in their seats. And when the school staff tells you it's time for you to open the door, you'll open the door and then you will discharge kids by row in an orderly manner with 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart. That's why it's going to take us longer to offload and it's going to take us longer to unload in the afternoon. You have to follow these procedures. You are key. And you have to reinforce these procedures. I know for some of you, it's uncomfortable for you to enforce rules. I get that. And I'm not telling you to be anal about it. You need to be professional about it. You're the adult and you got to act like it. You're the professional. You got to act like it. It's that simple. Again, no mass exit. Wait for the school staff to give you the signal, and we will be doing that probably a handful of buses at a time. It's not going to be a mass exit. The way it's going to work most likely is like the first 2 or 3 buses that arrive, maybe the first bus, the first 5 buses, if you all are like together in the group, you'll pull in and the staff will begin to offload you. So those of you that have not pulled in yet, please be cognizant of that. No speeding in the bus port. Stop and wait. It's okay. We need to do this safely. I can't be in every bus to supervise every bus. So I rely on you, the adults, the CDL holders, the professionals, to follow these steps. The PM loading is going to be done, again, probably 2, 3, 4 buses at a time, 5 buses at a time. Maintain social distancing. And as soon as those kids board the bus, directly to their seat. Directly. You have to enforce that this year at all levels. Again, face covering is a must, but do not make a battle out of it. You will lose the battle. Don't set yourself up for failure, please. Check engine lights. These buses have been sitting since March the 13th, especially the large buses. The small buses, we use them for the summer. Although we have exercised the large buses every 3 or 4 weeks, you are still going to get probably a lot of check engine lights. It's okay. Check your gauges. If all your gauges are normal, you don't need to call that in. Just write it up, and the mechanics will take care of it from there. So long as your gauges are normal, you are fine. Continue on. All right? And it'll take a while to reset these computers and, they get used to back into that operational mode. So spray sanitizer. Let me talk about that a minute. I brought one actually. So I brought this with me. This is what we're going to have on every bus. This is a mixture of 1 ounce of Q128 disinfectant mixed with a gallon of water. We've been using this mixture every day in our office spaces. It's safe. It's so safe that I don't care if I get it on my hand. It's a disinfectant. No different than if you were to take hand sanitizer and rub it all over your hand. It's not going to kill you. We have colleagues who are putting a lot of misinformation out there that are scaring people. Do you think that I would bring something into this department that's harmful to me, let alone to you? It's unprofessional and it's immature for people. And I don't care if they're calling the CDC. The CDC doesn't know what I have here. CDC doesn't know what we've purchased. CDC doesn't know if we've done our homework or not. And these so-called, concerned adults, they should have the backbone, if they have a problem or a question, to first come see me. Or if I'm not around, see Bernie. That's what should be happening, folks. Not going on social media and talking trash and scaring half of you to death. We've been working hard since March the 13th and prior to that to make sure that you guys are going to operate in a safe environment. So you'll have this on the bus, and what we're asking you to do in between runs, and I'm not saying spend, 20, 30 minutes doing it, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Put some spray it on the paper towel or the rag that you can get from George, or spray it directly on the handrails, for example. Just wipe down the areas that are commonly touched by kids. So we know the handrails are, we know that the first maybe 2 seat backs on the corners are, just hit those. It'll take you 2, 3 minutes tops in between runs. And get back in your seat and then go to your next run. It's that simple. We're not asking you to sanitize the entire bus. And by the way, unlike the misinformation you're reading on social media, we've actually added 15 minutes to the day to cover you doing that. And also we know, as has historically been and continues to be, some dead time, some downtime between runs that you're getting paid for. Now, nothing ticks me off more than when people talk through the rear based on a lack of information. That is ignorance, pure ignorance. And on top of that, what we're going to do is sanitize the buses, thoroughly sanitize them. You won't be doing that. The mechanics will. And I'm also looking at probably, it depends how the bidding goes, whatever, maybe creating a couple of positions for folks who may not have anything else to do to help the mechanics out, come in and spray those buses with the sanitizing machines. Again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work those. Wearing your mask and gloves is sufficient. The chemical itself, the disinfectant, is not going to hurt you now unless you're actually sitting there drinking it. Again, it's no different than, how many of you use Lysol at home? Lysol spray. No different. We use that, right? Not a problem, but using this is a problem, right? Okay. So we're going to, yes. Yes. Question. Yeah, you just missed it. Wipe it down. You're good to go. You don't have to really soak it down. That's correct. So the self-check, you have to do that daily, and you have to call dispatch if you're sick. No different than before, right? So make sure you're doing that self-check. We actually get a report as soon as you enter that information. We can see that you've entered it, and we're looking for the yeses, obviously. So we can make a determination from there and get somebody to cover you. But still, we need you to call, irrespective, whether you're normal sick or you're sick because you're answering yes on the self-check. You have to self-certify anytime that you come on campus, anytime, self-certify. So, for example, if you day off, but it's payday, you need to swing by, you're still one of the 10 people who, okay, somebody got a mic on, turn it off.
We have a question, Al.
Can you wait till I'm done?
Okay.
Thank you. Where was I at? Okay, so you're coming to pick up a check, it's your day off, you still have to self-certify. We need to know who's on campus. We need to know that. So it's not a free-for-all, even if you're just coming to the department. Should a case happens to occur, we need to know who is in the department at any given day, any given time. Safety packet, you all should have received an email, I believe, yesterday from Judy Mayfield. that talks about the safety packet. It's all electronic. As you noticed today, you didn't sign and grab a bunch of forms. Make sure you read that email. It's very detailed instructions, and then follow those instructions, because you're going to have to certify that, yes, I received all these different items. Otherwise, we're going to chase you down. I'll have to turn Judy loose on you. And all that needs to be done, by the way, before the end of the day today. We have a lot on our plate, and we really don't want to be chasing adults. What happened now? Well, the computer froze. Let's see. Okay. Let me talk about bus drills right quick. That should be like one of the last things, then I'll answer some questions. So the bus drill forms have been modified to include COVID-related information. Your first drill, the students will exit through the front door. You have to do it conducting social distance. This isn't about speed. It's about doing it in an orderly fashion. And then we don't want them, like you typically have them congregate. We don't want them congregating. When they get off the bus, they're getting off the bus and they're heading into the school. Again, social distancing. These bus drills, we're still waiting on SED. They may come back later this month, early next month, and maybe come up with something different. Who knows? Who knows? We just have to be flexible in everything we do, folks. If you're still in the mindset of how things were March the 13th, 2020, then you are in the wrong era. You're in the wrong period of time. Things are constantly changing, and you have to be flexible. So having said that, I think that was Belinda who said someone has a question. So go ahead and ask the question, please.
Hold on.
One mic on at a time.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the rules on the bus court for Carla and I. Are you gonna have that written down for us, what we're supposed to do before the first day of school?
So if I understood the question for the bus court, the process of the bus court, am I going to have it written down? Is that correct?
Correct.
Yep, we'll do that for you. And we'll send it out electronically.
For the first day of school?
Belinda, did you hear that?
Yes, we did, Al. Any other questions? No other questions here.
All right, anyone else? High school East?
We have a question here, Al.
Yeah, why don't you repeat the question for me?
What is it?
I was doing the packet last night, and when they have to, you got one part where you have to send it in the middle of the thing. Then I lost everything that I had done before.
I guess they're having some issues with the packets that Judy sent out, but I think it's something we could probably address a little bit later.
We can, and if you can just find out what those issues are, pass them on to Judy, because she created those forms. We can go ahead and fix it.
Lori,
Absolutely.
Lori, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have gotten, which is great, 160 responses back already. So I think the form is working. I think what may have happened is when you go to the field trip tab, it says on there you need to go back to the safety meeting packet tab and complete it there. But if they have troubles, they can come on in and see me. No problem. Bring their device.
Are you all set? Okay, we're all set. Thank you, Judy.
All right, thanks. Any other questions from High School East? Okay, questions in here?
Will we be having flu shots available through transportation again, or should we find our own? with like our own doctors.
So the question is, will we have flu shots for transportation? The answer, yes. It will be in September. I have it on my calendar, but we will be sending out an email, tell you the date and times for that. Andy?
Is it gonna be one student per seat or every other seat?
No, we're doing 50 to 75% ridership. So don't look for every other, it could be 2 kids to a seat. If there are 3 kids from the same family, they could be sitting 3 together. But we're looking between 50 and 75%. We're still working that out. In some cases, a lot of the parents who have opted out are opting back in and vice versa. It's really a mess. So don't look at, I know you've heard on the news, which is the people who put that out there were out of their mind because they definitely don't know anything about school transportation. So initially people have talked about putting a student every other seat. And then, putting red tape on the seats and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. If we went every other seat, how many can you get on a 72 passenger? Can anybody take a guess? 13. 13 kids. That's it. You guys be out there 15, 16 hours driving, trying to bring them all in, going back and forth, back and forth. Asinine will never work. Will never work. So some districts are doing it, but then you have to understand that this district has 100% eligibility. Other districts don't. You have districts that, for example, Bethlehem has their 6 through 8. If you live within half a mile, you don't get transportation. For high school, if you live within 1.5 miles, you don't get transportation. You have school district if you live within a 2.5 mile radius of the school, you don't get transportation. So not all their kids can be would be eligible for transportation. Shen is unique. It's different. 100%. Even if somebody lived, across from Tasago, for example, they literally can't get on the bus, travel a few feet, and get off the bus because it's 100%. So when you hear stories about, quote, other districts, what they're doing, doesn't mean what they're doing can fit here in what we're doing. So we opted to go with 50% to 75% ridership. So we will social distance where we can. And where we can't, we can't. It's as simple as that. If you have really sat down and read all the guidances that come out from the CDC, from state ed, from the health department, all that, you got to look for the cute, see, they play on words, so you got to look for those cute words, right? It says if you cannot social distance, right, this mask, really, I don't need to have it on right now because no one is within 6 feet of me. I don't need to have it on. I'm doing it because I'm modeling that leadership, right? And that's what the guidance has really said. If you are within 6 feet, then you have to wear this. You have to wear it. And the cap is, I think, and that's why we're split up, is we can't have more than 50 people in a space. Right? So you got to take all that into consideration and don't read into what other districts are doing, therefore Shen must do. Doesn't work that way. Who?
Lori.
She's always holding her hand up. I think she's looking for another.
Yeah, that's me. Hi, Al. Carrie Lewis had a question. She wants to know, are the parents going to be taught the 6 feet at the bus stops?
Will the parents be taught 6 feet at the bus stop? We're not going to teach them. We're going to teach the children, right? And just continue to professionally and highly recommend that they stay 6 feet at the bus stop. As you well know, Lori, we cannot supervise bus stops. Just physically, we can't. The parents have been told that. That's been communicated to them. that doesn't mean that they're learning either. So hopefully they've been reading the news just like all the rest of us. They've watched videos like all the rest of us, and they take the stuff seriously. As you well know, there are community members that don't believe in COVID. They think it's a hoax. And those people, some of them got kids. And if they believe that, their kids going to believe that. So when the children get on the bus, that's when we have them, and that's when we're going to teach them what they need to do to be safe. Good question. Yes, sir. All right, so good question. School start date. We're supposed to have started, let me see, Labor Day is the 7th, right? Superintendent Day is the 8th, the 9th. We should have started on the 9th. We're not doing that. What we're doing is the 10th and the 11th, only middle school runs will go that day. And that will be for from 9:30 to 11:30 for orientation purposes. That's it. We will not be, although elementary will be doing orientation, the parents will be bringing those kids in. We're not going to be transporting. The first full day is the 14th, Monday the 14th. Good question. Tenth and 11th, 9:30 to 11:30.
We know we have to, and we heard the statement of the former CDC, what the mask we have to. Now the question is, I see how, as a parent, when we leave kids coming in, bus without mask, just to report. And what's the recourse for that? And how, even the student, let's say, you approach the parent, and still the parent sent the next day with that. Is there a way or time you say enough from you or us? We say,
well, not from you and not from me. We're not the disciplinarian, and we don't have the authority to kick people off the bus. So we'll get that out of our mind, number one. Number two, the reason you're reporting it is so we can then report it to the school principal, who will have a talk with that student, will have a talk with the parent, and whatever they do, they do. I'm not going to speak for them. I don't know what they will do, but whatever they do, they will do. What else? Nothing. We're good. Yes, Larry.
and we not have the seat behind us be used if there's enough room so that we don't have kids, breathing right on our necks.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the room, yeah, that's fine. I don't see, again, you're setting up that seat assignment, and if you have the room to spread kids out and you can keep that seat behind you empty, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
And when you're dismissing the bus, for a drill, it's going to kind of look just like a regular dismissal in a way, for a safety drill.
So we're going to have to coordinate that with the school staff that, hey, today is safe bus drill day, and hopefully they'll be out there. And once you're ready to let the kids off the bus, we'll do that 2, 3, 4 buses at a time. Again, we're not going to open doors to all the buses and have you have the kids get out there all at the same time. And by the way, Tammy built in a delay in the different routes, right? So that you all aren't showing up at the same time. She built like a 5-minute delay. So hopefully some of you will pull up, you can do your thing, get the kids off the bus before the others show up. Kim had her hand first. Don, sorry. I can't hear you. That's correct. Kindergartners sit up front, yes.
Can you repeat the questions? We can't hear the questions.
And the kindergartners, or will the kindergartners be sitting up front? Yes. Don, go ahead.
This year, I believe it's the option parent drop-off is going to be And will they have the same restrictions, dropping off, picking up, so the kids aren't co-mingling with each other on the way out?
So parents self-certifying before they come on campus to drop their kids off. I don't think so. The requirement is employees self-certify. That's the requirement. What the district is not going to allow are parents coming willy-nilly on campus and going into the school. For example, I bring my child to school, drop him off. An hour later, I get a call, little Al forgot his lunch. So now I run home, I grab the lunch, and I'm going to go in and give it to him. They're not going to allow any of that. They want to control who comes into the building. Dropping kids off, you're going from your personal car, to the outside, and then you're leaving. So no self-certify for parents. The second part, hold on, I'll get to you. The second part, to your question about parent drop-off, yes, it's going to be horrendous. It already is, right? Even normal time is freaking horrendous. So if you had watched the live stream last night, you would have seen on the elementary side for right now, because it's the only schedule that's been put out, is they're telling the parents they have a 15-minute window prior to the arrival of the buses, right, to drop off. For example, I believe the elementary schedule is 8:30 for the buses. They want parents to come in 8:15 to 8:30, drop and go. So hopefully they'll be in and gone before you guys show up. Like I just said, hopefully. I don't control parents. Just like, I said, be seated by 7:50, and a lot of you showed up at 7. I don't believe anything. No, I believe in me only. So someone had a question up there?
Okay, now during the summer, you had the guidelines, sign in, march out to your bus. Don't hang it about, anything else. Well, we saw how well that did it.
Right.
What are we gonna do about that? Because with all of us coming back,
Yeah.
that's 300 people.
Right. So it's a good question, and a fair one, to be honest with you. The issue is, so let me repeat the question. So for the summer, everyone was told, come in, grab your key, go out to your bus and hit the road. No congregating around, right? And that did not happen. And I believe that did not happen. As I reviewed video footage from inside buses and around the building, you're absolutely right, I saw that. But unfortunately, it was too late to do anything about it because it was way after the fact. I can't be everywhere. I have to rely on adults to do what is right. And if adults act like children, they're going to be treated like children. Should I catch them? Again, underscore should I? Because I can't be everywhere. So adults need to do what is expected of them. I don't want you hanging around the hallways. I don't want you talking to your best pal. You can do that on the phone or when you're off campus. Come in, grab your key, take your instructions from dispatch, get your questions answered, and hit the road straight to your bus. Don't congregate in front of the buses, which I've seen. And I'm going to hit it again. We had 2 positive cases this summer. Did not have to happen. Did not have to happen. From inside the bus, this is what I saw. This is what I saw. And from inside the bus, and some of you are doing that now, this is what I saw. This is nothing if it's not used properly. It's nothing. Take it off. Don't go like this. You're not doing yourself any good, or you're not, remember, you're wearing this to protect your colleagues. And that's why those 2 individuals came down with it. Not sure who had it first and who passed it to whom. But it happened. So adults got to do what adults are required to do. I have to trust you. And when you don't do it, what that shows me is you're an untrustworthy individual. And then the way I look at you and others will look at you will be in a totally different light. It's unfortunate. A lot of good questions, but these are the hard facts, folks. Hard facts. Yes, Mary.
You know, a lot of people are not happy on it. Let's just say, for example, maybe somebody who came to school this summer and worked, and they weren't feeling good. And they came onto the bus, and they took their mask off, and they left it like this the whole time. Now, because we already know, because we're all humans, and humans, you know, act and mature, no matter regardless of what age they are. I would like, if possible, and I think everyone would agree with me, that it would be fantastic if we had one person at the door where we would enter, maybe the front or the back way, one person with one hand temperature gauge, and check the people as they come in. I'm not saying that every one of us should have a hand gauge temperature, because that'll be $50 to $100 per temperature gauge. But I think because we all know that we will all, you know, somebody, not all of us, but somebody is going to come on to our campground transportation, and they're going to have it, and they're not going to be truthful. And that is subjecting all of us and the children on the bus. So it would be nice if we could purchase perhaps two and have somebody stand out there and take the temperature as each person comes in. It'll take 10 seconds, but I think it's vital. I think it's important because our lives matter.
No, I agree with you. So what Mary's talking about is, in a nutshell, that we should have a temperature check-in regimen in the department, right? Day in, day out. So I'll bring that suggestion back, Mary. That's been talked about and it's been rejected for a lot of different reasons. But I'll bring that suggestion back. And some operations are doing it, some are not. The fact of the matter is, who's going to do that? We're short people already. I can't create more positions just to have someone check temperatures 2, 3, 4 times a day. But I'll bring that back to the superintendent and see where we go from there.
I thank you for that. But I do, maybe we can make it an extra 2-hour shift for somebody in the morning, but we don't have enough people to run the buses.
Right.
If there's an aide or somebody in between the hours that they're not working, maybe we could do a little list, like, okay, I can do this. Okay, you'll get 2 hours for doing this. Somebody check their temperature so that they're safe.
All right, it's a good suggestion, Mary. The issue is, somebody just said it, you know, we don't have the people. We've lost people since March the 13th and have not been able to replace them at the rate that we typically do.
We're going to lose more.
And we'll probably lose more. I understand that. And, you know, that bridge will be crossed when we get to it. You know, we've lost bus attendants. They're afraid. Some of them don't want to come back. Health reasons, and I respect that. Drivers, health reasons, I respect that. Some simply moved out of state and went somewhere else. So if I had the people, I'd be doing a lot of things. Unfortunately, I don't have the people. It's a good suggestion. Maybe there's something else that we can do to kind of help with that. They do have some systems out there, albeit costly, where you don't need somebody. You just put it there, and as you walk by, it picks up your temperature. Maybe we can do something like that. And yeah, but you'll be out driving though, Mary. That's the key. You know, in order to do first driver, last driver, first attendant, last attendant coming in through the doors, somebody would have to be literally there. And by the time that last person is through, I don't need you to drive, or I don't need you to be bus attendant, because all the routes are, you know, all the buses are out, what have you. I mean, it's a good suggestion. It's just, for us, it's a little bit difficult to implement, but I will take that back. Yes, Larry.
We could have a key driver
don't have to go back into the building, you know, through the window, on dispatch or something?
Well, so Larry's asking, can we have a key drop from the outside to inside dispatch? You know, open the window. That's again, good suggestion. Fair weather, that will work, but not on a, you know, cold blistering day. You can't have the windows open.
Have a little tray or something, you know, like a mail opening or something?
Yeah. We'll explore that. I don't know. We'll explore that. The keys will be dropped like you typically are. That's our plan right now, and they'll all be cleaned before they get hung up. So when we hand them back to you or whomever else, they would have been sanitized. So any other questions? A lot of good questions. We got a few more minutes. Yes, Candy. No, you can't have the day off.
With the arrival of buses in the morning, you say they're staggered. Is it going to be drop off as soon as you arrive?
So the question is, in the morning, the buses are going to be staggered, and will the drop off be as soon as the buses arrive? That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're hoping for is going to happen. So now on the other side is I need the school staff to cooperate. The principals are cooperating, but I need the school staff, which historically don't want to give you a minute, to cooperate. And that's what the principals are working on, is to make sure that happens. Because I want you to show up. So if Candy's, you're the first bus, let's say, to North, you pull up, somebody's out there meeting the kids in an orderly fashion, 6 feet apart, they get off the bus, and you head on out and go to your next run. Instead of sitting there waiting for the last bus, waiting for the bell to ring, and everybody gets off. They're on the sidewalk. You can continue on. That's why I said earlier, you have to be very careful of you pulling in, right? And there are going to be adults out there. Again, unlike before, where you have a conglomeration of kids going different directions, right? You'll have staff on there to, in an orderly fashion, get those kids inside the building and straight to their classroom. So we have to do things differently, but we have to do it safely. And I say that because in my past observation of some of you, you come flying in through those bus ports too fast. And that we need to change. Yes?
Can you clarify the pay when the mandatory quarantine of your first meeting? You said that we would get paid, but then Jill Bush says that we won't get paid unless we're full time.
So the question is about, will I get paid if we're quarantined, right? All right, so I'm not going to speak to that. There's a expectation letter that the district has put out, and they will put out again, that talk specifically about quarantine and what have you. When it comes to pay, just do it like this. If you self-quarantine, you're going to use sick leave. Initially, if the county tells you you're going to quarantine, you're still on sick leave. After all that's said and done, you and HR work out whether it's covered under sick leave or whether they're going to pay you for that. If they pay you for it, or they don't charge you sick time, they will give you that sick time back. I don't want to get into the nuances of it. I'm not HR. I'm not Jill Bush. What I'm telling you is that's who you need to communicate with should you be in that circumstance. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, I talked to the county health, they're one of the ones in quarantine, mandated quarantine, and I asked her that question. If, say, drivers or say someone on the bus got quarantined because children had it, and you're put out legally quarantine, doesn't come up for sick time, you get paid or whatnot. And she told me, she checked on the lady that was calling me every day. She said at this time, if you're put out 3 times, 3 separate times, for the world, everybody has just so many sick days, you will get paid it'll go through your sick time, like you said, but 3 times it will be covered from the county, reimbursed through your sick time.
Okay, so,
And that was the lady in Saratoga County.
all right, so Kathy is sharing with us her personal experience with the county. And they're basically telling her if you've been put out of work 3 different times, then the county will reimburse. That's the first I'm hearing about it. That's why I'm saying to all of you, if you're involved in a COVID quarantine,
That's not self-quarantine,
that's if you're directed by the county to quarantine, but I say any quarantine situation, this is what I'm going to say, right? Don't go to Anastasia, don't go to Michelle, don't go to Bernie, don't go to me. Go directly to HR. Because like Kathy just said, she was told something I've never heard of yet by the county health department, right? So there are nuances to the law, to the regulation, to the guidance. There's a lot of them out there. HR is not my bailiwick. I don't want to give you something that is erroneous. That's why I'm going to keep pushing back. Go to HR and have your questions answered. You're better off. Good question, though.
No.
Are you saying 3 times someone's been
Say, child in your and this week, they tell you, call you, you're put out. In 6 weeks, you go back to work, and 8 weeks down the road, different thing happens, and they contact you, okay, you're put out again for 14 days, whatever the thing. That's the second time. And then 3 months later, there's other kind of question. We'll call you. That will be a third.
Okay, again, please, HR, all right? And if you have any other questions, I beg you, all of you, whether you're in this auditorium here or high school east, I'm begging you, if you have a question, email. Al emails me from time to time. Do I not respond to you, Al? I appreciate that. Exactly. So please email your questions. That's how it should work. I don't know if you're having an issue or whatever if you're not communicating with me. Yes, I get information from social media. I don't want to get it that way. That's childish. Come see me.
I just want to verify, she told me 3 times as of last week. It can change, so down to 2, it could be up to 5.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, the county could have different rules, whatever. I'm not privy to those. HR is. One last question, Larry, go ahead.
When buses are coming into the bus port to drop off, it's probably a lot different because they're going to be staggered. So the buses will be moving up forward, closer to the top of the work, so there won't be so much congestion behind. So when they're dropping off, it'll be less likelihood of kids, getting in the way.
Yes, good observation. Yes, so when buses pull in, they're going to be pulling up to that first spot, if you will, and further away from the entrance. That's correct, which will create less congestion for buses. Hopefully, that's how it's going to work out. I'll be out there. Bernie will be out there at the bus ports. One of the dispatchers, the trainer, the head trainer, to help with all this. All right, and I'm just going to end it using the word flexibility. We all need to be flexible. Things aren't going to go our way. Things not going to go the way we envision them. It's going to take time to work out all these nuances and get everybody on the same sheet of music. It's going to take time. So patience is required. Professionalism is required. Flexibility is required. Nothing else is going to work for us, folks. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and I've been asked a question. Shannon Lippris wants to know if there is going to be a practice for staggered dropping at the elementary school. No, we're not going to practice that. We will see how it works out on the first day, on the 14th, and we will adjust as each day goes by. So be prepared for that. So I thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Dan for the next presentation. Is it clicker?
Okay. All right, how's everybody doing today? All right, so for those of you who do not know me, my name is Dan Boyer. I'm the senior automotive repairer here in the bus garage. I have over 25 years experience in the transportation industry. I'm an SBDI and a 19A certified examiner. And today I'm going to do signals and sights. Excuse me, it's core 1. And there we go. Little logistics. Before we get started, the emergency exits. We've all been in this room before, but they are in the back and on the sides. The bathrooms are through the door and to the left, down the hallway. This is a school district, so there is to be no smoking on any of the property here. Cell phones, we want to make sure that those are turned off or silenced. If you need to make a phone call, please take it into the hallway out front and quietly make your call. If you're in a different room watching this on the screen, the SBDI in each location will be able to help you and tell you where the bathrooms and the emergency exits are in that room. So we're going to discuss about all the different lights on a bus, understanding when to use your lights, your hazard lights, what each mirror is for. There's an awful lot of lights and quite a few mirrors on each one of these buses. You'll also be able to identify 2 danger zones from the driver's seat. So buses have come an awful long way. The picture here on the left is a late 1930s bus. The one on the right is a 1961 International with the Thomas Car Works body. We even have a picture in our hallway, just as you walk into the door. It shows a 1938 Superior body bus. So some of the things that have changed over the years is the lights. You notice on this particular bus here on the right, there's only 2 red lights. That's because that picture was taken before the Jersey lights were proposed to be put on buses. The lights used to be glass, and now they're mostly plastic with LEDs. So they're a lot safer these days. They can shine a lot brighter. You can see a lot further down the road, and they're more efficient. So when we go to make changes to buses, like these LED lights and shatterproof glass, we can't just put those on the buses. We can't just make changes on our own. There are agencies that govern the bus industry, and they are, right here on the screen, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, New York State Department of Transportation, Vehicles and Traffic Laws of New York State, State Education Department, and the Federal Vehicle Safety Standards. Each one of these agencies have their own laws in which we have to abide by. So the Jersey lights, this is where the yellow lights came from. The warning lamps initially used in school buses consisted of 4 red warning lights. New Jersey was one of the first to mandate the new system of 8 identification lights on a school bus, 2 red and 2 amber on the front and the back. And that happened in 1962. So although the 8 light systems were adopted in many states and provinces during the 70s and 80s, the red lights, all red, still remain in use in some locals, such as Saskatchewan and Ontario, Canada, older buses from California, as well as buses built in Wisconsin before 2005. So even though New York State has the Jersey lights, not all states do. So how many lights do you think you have on your school bus? Anybody? There are about 40 lights on each one of our buses. And they add up when you go around and start counting your lights. So there's an awful lot. I think there's in your sheet, there is a list of some of the lights. But this is a list. I'm not going to go over each one of them, but there are an awful lot of lights on the buses. All right, so when you're loading or dropping off, when you start to get to your bus stop, you want to turn your amber flashers on. Now, SED, which is the state education department, recommends turning your amber Jersey lights on approximately 300 feet before you get to the stop. You want to stop at least 10 feet from the designated stop. Now, motorists, when they see your red lights on, should stop 20 feet or more from the bus. And we know this doesn't always happen, so you always have to be mindful of that. You want to keep your lights activated until the students have reached the other side of the highway, or for non-crossers, they're 15 feet away from the bus. Now, when you have a Suburban, you have to turn the red lights on by clicking the switch on when the bus is completely stopped. And when you're driving one of those, it's very important that when loading and unloading without reds, if you have a vehicle that doesn't have reds, you must be completely off the highway. So that would be in somebody's driveway or in a parking lot. You can't be on the side of the road picking up kids if you don't have red lights. We can estimate the 300 feet when you're using your amber lights. You can estimate 300 feet before the stop by using the school bus itself. The school bus is approximately 34 feet in length. So about 9 buses will equal 300 feet. It's also about 9 houses, which is equal to a neighborhood block. If there's a stop and another stop and another stop, and you do not have the 300 feet, what you're going to do is you're going to stop your bus. You're going to have your yellow lights on. You're going to pull up. You're going to open your door. The red lights are going to come on. The students are going to load. Now you can see the next bus stop just down the road. You don't have 300 feet. So immediately before you leave that stop, you're going to turn your yellow Jersey lights on and proceed to the next stop. So exactly how long should you keep your amber lights on? According to the DMV, bus driver unit in Albany, New York, there is no time limit. SED recommends the driver activate the yellow overhead flashers approximately 300 feet before each bus stop. What you don't want to do is use your directionals and your floorways when you're picking up students. So you don't need to put your directional on to pull over to the side of the road to pick up students. Your yellow lights are sufficient, and then your red lights will stop the traffic. So when you are approaching an oncoming school bus and its amber lights are on, you want to prepare to stop. Do not activate your ambers. Do not activate your ambers. What you could do is you could use your four-way flashers when you're approaching a bus. That's you're headed one direction, the other bus is headed the other direction. You see the bus, one bus is stopped, has its amber lights on. You do not need to turn yours on. Now, when they do stop, you need to stop your bus. Approximately 20 feet, just like other cars, about 20 feet from the bus, you're going to stop, but you're not going to turn your red lights on or your amber lights. You could turn your four ways on if you want to. The purpose of hazard lights is to warn other operators of other vehicles the presence of a vehicle traffic hazard, requiring the existence of unusual care in approaching or overtaking or passing. So if you feel there's a vehicular traffic hazard, then you could use your four ways. But other than that, you don't need to put your yellow jersey lights or your red lights on. And again, that's when you are approaching another bus. And we went over with the red lights are flashing, you still do not need to put your reds on. So when you're approaching a school bus from behind with the amber lights on, you want to prepare to stop. Now you do want to activate your amber lights within 50 feet to the rear of the bus ahead of you. And then when that bus stops and the red lights come on, you want to activate your red lights. And the reason why is because you're blocking the bus. So cars behind you cannot see that the bus in front of you is stopped with its reds on. So you need to take the place of that bus in signaling to the cars behind you that there's a stopped bus there. We don't want somebody to think that your bus is just stopped there and they're going to try to pass you. They get out in the passing lane and realize there's a stopped bus with the red lights on. So if you're behind a bus, this mask keeps falling down. If you're behind the bus, you need to do what the bus is doing in front of you. You need to use your yellow lights and your red lights. If you're approaching, you do not need to do that. You can just use your four ways if you want to, but you're not required to do that. And this is about the red lights. We've already discussed this. You're going to put those on if you're behind the bus. All right, so is it illegal to pass a stopped school bus from behind when the amber lights are flashing? Anybody? Is it illegal? Just the yellow lights are on. No, it is not illegal to pass a stopped school bus from behind when their amber lights are flashing. But is it illegal to pass a stopped school bus from either direction when they have their red lights flashing? Yes, it is illegal. And New York State is doing something about it. New York State Association of School Bus Pupil Transportation estimates that about 50,000 drivers a day drive through the red lights of a school bus illegally. So if you've noticed, we have some cameras on some of the outsides of our buses. And I know we've talked about this a little bit, and Operation Safe Stop, that brought a lot of attention to it. So now, drivers who illegally pass a stopped school bus with its red lights flashing face fines from $250 to $400 for the first conviction. For the second conviction, within 3 years, they can get $600 to $750. And for a third, it's $750 to $1,000, and that's within 3 years. You can go up to $1,000. So it's going to get really expensive for people to continue to do this. They are also going to receive 5 points on their license for each given conviction. So with 5 points, it's going to add up real fast. It's going to get expensive. Their license can be revoked. They also could spend up to 30 days for the first and up to 180 days for the second and third convictions in jail. So the use of four-way hazards. When do we use them? SED recommends using four-way flashers in heavy fog, when the vehicle has made an emergency stop or is disabled on a public highway. SED and DMV allows the use of four-way flashers when stopping a school bus at a railroad crossing. They may also use it when traveling through work zones or traveling below 40 miles an hour on a road with a higher speed limit. The program that we're using does not allow, it will not support this video. So I'm just gonna read what happens here. This video was taken in 2013. The location was a suburban area in eastern New York. A witness said that for weeks, a school bus was picking up students without turning on their red flashers. So one morning, he used his cell phone and took a video. The video shows a bus pulling up to the bus stop with only the four-way flashers on. Kids began to cross the street in front of it to get to the bus, but the red lights never came on and the stop sign never came out. So because of this, cars continued to drive around the bus, almost hitting one of the students. The next day, the same witness videoed the bus. This time the red lights were on, the stop sign was out, but the bus had stopped too far into the intersection, forcing kids to walk close to the traffic to get to the bus. So it's always important to remember to use caution and to always think of the student's safety at the bus stop when you're loading or unloading. So that was the video that would have been playing. All right, so when not to use hazards or four-way flashers. When stopping behind a school bus with their red lights flashing. Remember we talked about that, we do not need to have our four-way flashers on. When loading passengers on a school bus or when unloading passengers from the school bus, we do not need to have our four-ways on. The amber lights and the red lights are sufficient. It's critical that drivers understand the purpose of each one of these lights and when to use them and when not to use them. So when are you required on a school bus to have your headlights on? All the time. It's recommended that high beams be used to light 500 feet in front of the bus in unlit areas. Use low beam in fog or inclement weather with your flashers on. Because remember, when it's foggy out, you're going to be driving slower. You can have your four-ways on. You want to avoid glare from other drivers by keeping your windshield clean. And don't look directly at the bright lights. Look to the side of the road if they do have the bright lights on. And one of the things that we've done is we've undercoated for rust proofing all of our buses. So when you get in your bus, you're going to notice there might be a film on the windshield. That will create a glare. We recommend that you use the bus wash, and we also have spray in a little pump sprayer that we can put it right on the windshield and make sure that we can remove that film before you drive. That will eliminate that glare. So if you look directly at approaching headlights or other extremely bright lights and you are blinded, it can take up to 1 minute for normal vision to return. If you cannot continue to drive safely, pull your bus over to the side of the road and wait for your eyes to recover. And being that you're on the side of the road, you're going to put your four-ways on. But it's important if you're blinded at all, wait for your vision to come back before you continue driving. Glare has been a factor in many school bus accidents. And in a lot of those, students were hit by oncoming cars, by the bus. We want to avoid that at all costs. So please keep your windshields clean, use the bus wash, contact us in the garage if you have any issues at all. If you need us to scrub the film off the windshield, we can do that. All right, so are the red flashing lights or amber school lights on a school bus a traffic control device? Anybody? Yes, it is. They are traffic control devices. You put them on, the cars have to stop. So somebody could ask, and does the driver have the authority to use these lights to control traffic? And the answer to that is yes, you do. I will read this to you. This is the Vehicle Traffic Law 1174B. The driver of such a school bus, when receiving or discharging passengers who must cross a public highway, street, or private road, shall instruct the passengers to cross in front of the bus, and the driver therefore shall keep such school bus halted with red signal lights, with red flashers flashing until such passengers have reached the opposite side of the highway, street, or private road. Whether such passengers are crossing such highway, street, or private road, or discharging to the same side of such highway, street, or private road, the driver of such bus shall keep such school bus halted with red signal lights flashing until such passengers are at least 15 feet from the bus and are either off the highway, street, or private road, or on the sidewalk. So that's kind of a long way of saying, yes, you do have permission to stop traffic, and it is the law. It's not a good practice to wave cars through your red lights. Drivers are used to stopping for your red lights. They know that the yellow lights mean that you're about to stop, and that the red lights mean that they have to stop. You're stopping either to load or unload passengers. Just to keep the confusion out, unless there's an absolute emergency, it's a bad practice to wave people through your red lights. Strobe lights. The strobe light shall only be operated when students are being picked up, discharged, or transported to or from school or school functions when conditions impede the visibility of the school bus. So that's so that other drivers can see you. Now, none of our buses have these strobe lights, but as you're driving around, you might notice other districts with a little strobe light on the top of their bus. If it's foggy out, there has to be students on board anytime you see that light. But like I'm saying, we do not have any of those at this moment on any of our buses. Not that someday that couldn't change. All right, and now we're into mirrors. How many mirrors do you think are on your bus? We have 2 convex mirrors, 2 flat mirrors, 2 crossover mirrors, and 1 internal mirror. So there are 7 mirrors on your bus. Now that's the minimum. There can be more. Some buses might have more mirrors than that. So the convex mirrors on the left and the right side. If you see the picture on the left, it's the bottom mirror, the one with the red. The picture on the right shows that it's showing a wide area, 12 feet, about 12 feet out from the back wheels, from the rear of the bus. They help the driver understand where they are and where the vehicle will fit. You get that nice big view. It does have a limitation. It prevents a distorted view. It doesn't reflect the correct size and distance accurately. A lot of those mirrors even have a little message in there that says this mirror does not reflect an accurate view, or something like that, it says. Now, all of these mirrors that are on these buses that we're going to discuss will also create blind spots. So it's important that you move around in your seat. You know, don't just look right at the mirror. You want to look to the sides. You want to move around in your seat a little bit so that you can see that blind spot that's created by the mirror. So the flat mirror, that's the top mirror. This mirror, when adjusted correctly, you can see 200 feet down the sides of your bus. That's 4 feet, or excuse me, that's 4 school bus lengths behind the bus. They also have blind spots behind those. So like I said before, it's important that you move around in your seat so that you don't, so that you can see those blind spots. You want to have them adjusted so that you can see the sides of the bus and the rear tires touching the ground. You should also be able to see the rear bumper. Okay, this slide shows the view from the front of the bus using the crossover mirrors. When you look into these mirrors, you want to be able to see on the service door side, on the right side, you want to be able to see the service door, the front right tire in the front of the bus. And the same on the left side, you want to be able to see the front of the bus and the left front tire. These mirrors are excellent when loading and unloading students. Kids will drop things. They're not always paying attention. They don't care that they're too close to the bus for the driver to see them. And so these mirrors really come in handy. Make sure you clean your mirrors often and make sure that they're all adjusted. Blind spot mirrors. Now these might be used on the Suburbans, maybe little cars, vans. They're not used on the big buses. The buses use the convex mirrors. That's where we get our view, but it gives a similar view of the other lane. You can look, using that mirror, you can pretty much see into the other lane. But like I said, the school buses, the larger school buses, do not use them. This is the internal mirror. You want to position this mirror so that you can see the largest section inside the bus. You want a clear view of the passengers, including the seats and the aisleway. You want to check this mirror last before you leave to make sure that all of your students are seated. But you don't want to look at it for too long. A lot of accidents happen when a bus hits a car or runs an intersection or hits a sign or something. When you watch the video, a lot of times the driver is looking into this mirror, not paying attention to where he's going. So it's very important that you glance into this mirror to make sure that your students are seated. If you need to, stop the bus, pull over to the side of the road, put your four-ways on when you do that, and talk to the students to get them to sit down. If they won't, you can you can contact dispatch. So there are laws on mirrors. DOT says that they can't be obstructed. NYCRR says that they have to be able to be adjusted. But you want to keep your mirrors clean. You always want to adjust them. We have two different areas to adjust the buses with the mirror grids. One is outside of the old shop and one is outside of the wash bay. So this is kind of hard to see, but this is a view looking at the door side of the crossover mirror. How many cones do you see? It's kind of hard to see that, but there are 10 cones in there. But because of the design of the mirror, there's always a lot of distortion. So you really can't use this mirror for anything other than to really look at the front of your bus, make sure that there's no children right in front of your bus. It's not an accurate view of size or distance. And also I can't say it enough, you want to rock around in your seat, try to look around those mirrors. Also, when you're looking into those mirrors, if the colors are not real bright. So if somebody's wearing gray pants, they might blend in with the road. Black pants might blend in with the road. So pretty much you just want to use that mirror to look for students in front of your bus. The crossover mirror, used for loading and unloading students. We've discussed that. And again, it's telling me about the brackets. You need to move around. This picture right here shows two different style mirrors. Now you can see 3 mirrors in each one of these pictures. They're just oriented differently. But they all show the convex mirror, the flat mirror, and the crossover mirror. The one on the left is they're all on the same mount. The one on the right shows 2 different mounts. But either way, it's important that you look at your mirrors, you have them cleaned, and you have them adjusted properly. This is the mirror grid. This is where we have the tool. If the mirrors are adjusted properly, most blind spots in front and alongside the buses will be eliminated. On the door side, You want to see one cone 1 foot, a cone 6 foot, and a cone 12 feet away from the back wheel from the duals, and one cone 1 foot from the front tire. On the driver's side, you want to see one cone that's 1 foot and one cone that's 6 foot from the rear tire. You also want to see one cone that's 1 foot from the front tire. In front of the bus, you should see 3 rows of cones. The first row of cones is 1 foot from the bus. The second row is 6 foot from the bus. And the third row is 12 feet from the bus. So that's a long distance. You can see all the way around your bus. If your mirrors are adjusted properly, and of course they're nice and clean. And if anybody has any problems adjusting their mirrors, you know, sometimes they set up, sometimes we have to get tools so that we can move the mirrors. Please come and see us in the garage, and we'll come out to your bus. We'll take you out to the mirror grid if we need to, and we'll help you adjust your mirrors. So can you relate to this? Safety is an attitude, which Elise will be talking about later. Let's keep that in mind when we get behind the wheel of a school bus. We must abide by the laws from the organizations that put these laws together. The law states that we are to adjust our mirrors and our seats, check all of our lights for proper function, and do a quality pre-trip. It's always important to remember that children will always be focused on picking up their items, not on how close they are to a school bus and that the driver may not see them. So use your mirrors. Always count the students. Make sure you account for all of the students before you pull away from the bus stop. And always be aware of your danger zones. The typical danger zone on a school bus is 15 feet from the front and the back of the bus. You want to pay particular attention to the area by the right rear wheels and by the front bumper. Those are the 2 most dangerous spots. You want to avoid backing whenever possible. Use a spotter anytime that you possibly can if you need to back up. And remember to check and recheck for your students when picking up or when dropping off. And again, count them all before you drive away. Now, we've all seen this decal. It's in every one of our buses, usually located up over the first seat on the right side. If your students follow the safe crossing procedure that is listed here on this picture, and your seat and mirrors are properly adjusted, you should be able to have the student in your view all the way across the street. So let's do a little review. What mirror do you use to observe children sitting in their seats? Yes, C, the internal mirror. If equipped, a strobe light should only be used during inclement weather when students are on board. True or false? Yes, that is true. And again, none of our buses have the strobe lights on them. If your crossing mirrors are adjusted properly, the crossing mirrors out front, you will see the front bumper of your school bus. True or false? Yes, that is true. You should turn on your 4-way or your amber lights, the Jersey lights. You should turn them on how many feet before each bus stop? 300 feet. And a little bonus. Which department says that we have to do that or recommends? Yes, SED recommends that we turn on our amber lights 300 feet before the bus stop. Headlights on a school bus only need to be on at night or when it's raining. True or false? Exactly, false. They need to be on all the time. Two of the most dangerous locations outside of your school bus are, the answer is C, near the front bumper and around the rear tires. All the areas around the school bus can be dangerous, but those are what they're saying are the most dangerous areas. The convex mirror is a mirror you use to identify your reference point. True or false? That's the lower mirror. The convex mirrors allow you to see 12 feet out on each side of your bus. The answer is true. That's what you use to, you can see exactly where your bus sits on the road. Okay, when preparing to cross, students, an attendant or monitor should always wait for the driver's signal to cross and make sure that the red lights on the school bus are flashing. True or false? That is true. If the flat mirrors on the side of the bus are adjusted correctly, how far back should the driver be able to see? D, 200 feet. You should use your four-way flashers or hazard lights when, yes, when you are approaching a railroad track, when you have stopped in an emergency and you have to stop on the side of the road, and when the weather conditions are foggy. And usually when that happens, you're driving slower than the speed limit on the road. So those are all good times to be using your four-way flashers. So in conclusion, the lights on a school bus help you communicate with with the drivers on the road and people around you. People are used to seeing the yellow lights and knowing that you're about to stop. So just like we were saying before, if you go and you start waving people through your lights, it kind of confuses them. You want to keep things simple for them. The yellow lights means that you're about to stop. The red lights and the stop sign, they have to stop. So you also want to keep your lights and your mirrors clean. Use the bus wash. The garage can assist you with any of the issues that you're going to have. In fact, I think every time that I speak to people, I tell them to come and find me if they have any problems. If you need help adjusting your mirrors, if you need, I know I've helped a lot of you with the seats. Some of the older buses have a different seat adjustment for the driver's seat. It's a little harder to use. Don't deal with it. Just come up to the garage and let us help you with it. It's important that you're comfortable and you know exactly how to use your bus. Use the mirror grid. Make sure that your mirrors are adjusted properly, especially if you're a sub driver or you drive a lot of different buses. Before you leave the bus compound, make sure that you can see all the way around your bus. Always remember to move around in your seat so that you can see the blind spots that the mirrors create. And call the garage or dispatch with any problems at all. And again, thank you for all that you do to keep our children safe in this state. Now, does anybody have any questions for me. Okay, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Dan. Good job. Appreciate it. Just a quick observation. As a reminder, this year, more so than ever, you need to be in the afternoon lineup on time. We have a very, very tight schedule, and we should not be waiting on people to show up at the last minute. It's very, very important. You know what? Just take 2 minutes. I want you right where you're sitting. Just stand up, stretch a little bit. Just take 2 minutes, right where you're sitting.
You stole my thunder, man.
Huh?
You stole my thunder.
It's okay.
I was gonna ask
Let
Tom,
them-
he
let
does
them-
that very same thing. Oh.
Give me a chance to switch here. And while you're standing and stretching, just let me let's talk about a point or two before I turn it over to Elise for the next class. You know, bidding is going to be different. And again, I heard a lot of negative stuff out there. I know you all voted. It was a very close vote. And I know people are angry and, you know, they want to do this, that, the other. That's fine. You do what you got to do. Fact of the matter is, we can't just sit and not do anything. If we had stayed with the old system, the main reason that we needed changes is because a lot of you would have been exposed to different set of students every day. So that's one driving factor why we changed it for this coming year, right? To reduce the exposure of you to students and students to you. And also to help with the tracing. That's a big piece. I know there's a lot of stuff going on out there about, you know, we shove this down your throat and we're going to use it for the future and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to be honest with you. I did in negotiation try to change the system. That's my job. My job is to look at things and make it more efficient. And I know what I need to do, and that is go do it through negotiations. If we had done nothing this year, if we did not change the system, God forbid something terrible happened to a student or to one of you, my head would be on the chopping block as well as others. So we have to show something tangible, that we're doing some tangible things in the COVID environment to reduce exposure. The old system, we're the only district that does it, by the way that we've been bidding. Most districts bid by day, not by block, by day. And there's a lot of false information out there as to, you know, you can't pick your day and you know, the start and end times and, you know, all this other jazz. Look at the master schedule. Look at the 8 hours, for example. They all have, you know, different starting times, end times for the morning, midday, and afternoon. Those are your choices. You pick from whatever fits your schedule. So those choices are still there. They may not fit perfectly, but they're still there. But the main point, please remember this, the main point we did what we did for this school year is because of the COVID, not to shove anything down your throat, not to screw you over, not to treat you like dirt. Far from it. It's to keep you safe, to keep the children safe to the extent that we can. That's the bottom line. And when this thing is over with, we'll go back to the old system and you all can live with it. I frankly don't care. If we can change it through negotiations, fine. If we can't, fine. I will never lose sleep over it. But I hope as adults, you can understand why we're doing what we're doing. So having said that, and having stretched, now you're ready, right? Elise?
Yeah.
All right, so there you go.
All right, it is awesome to see everybody. Oh, let's see how this works. Doesn't work that way, doesn't it? Oh, there we go. All right, we've already talked about this a little bit, so we're gonna move on. Oh, which button did I press? Oh, that one. All right, so I'm talking about attitude today and how it impacts you and everyone else around you. So usually when I get these kind of conversations or these presentations, I get really nervous myself. So instead of, for instance, walking down this aisleway thinking I'm entering the gangway onto the Titanic, I decided that I am a princess entering a ball and everyone is here to see me. Puts me in a better frame of mind. I know Belinda's usually a princess, but I get to be for an hour today. Sorry, Belinda. But I'm going to turn it over to you. So the activity is this. In the last 24 hours, think of something that has made you happy. You saw it, you read it, maybe you cooked it and ate it, maybe you heard it. So think about that for a second, and I'll go first to make it easy. Yesterday, at 11:04 in the morning, I became a great aunt. Could not have been happier. I got to see little Harlow for the first time when she was 5 minutes old. Could not have been happier. That set the tone for my day, or actually for the rest of that day. Even today, I could not be happier. So it's your turn, just a couple of people. Think of something that you saw today that put you in a good frame of mind that's a positive thing. And remember, this is a mask, not a muzzle. Feel free to speak. Anybody? Don't make me call on you because I will. Go. You got your air conditioning back. 2 thumbs up. Anybody else? Oh, come on, Dan. Don't look around like that. Dan. No. Oh, come on. Yeah, go. Mary, all the way in the back. You're grateful. Super. Super. So it happens all the time. So my suggestion is to hang on to those. Because the fact is, we work in an industry that counts on us being focused, safe, every single day, not only every single day, but every single minute. So these are our objectives for today. I just talked to you about how your physical well-being affects how you react to the day, how attitudes will affect your judgment, how contagious they can be, and emotions are impacting your safety decisions, how you do things, and why you do them. At the end of the day, I think you will agree with me that there are things that you can do to affect your own mindset that have an effect on your job safety. You'll be able to come up with 3 things that your outlet can affect, or how your outlet can affect your peers. A couple of things that help you maintain a good, healthy attitude. And that, again, that impact that it has on everyone else around you. So, like Dan, I have the same problem. My videos won't play. So even though a picture is worth 1,000 words, I'm going to try my best to describe to you what these videos are. I really like them, and I'm really sorry that I can't show them. So here we go. Before I begin, let me tell you that the video was a recreation of an actual accident that happened in Missoula, Montana. So everything about it is true. The driver, everything that happened, the students on board, etc. So the scene opens on this school bus accident shortly after it's happened. It's dark, the bus is on its side, and the wheels are spinning. Students that are able, bloodied, dazed, and crying, are making their way out of the wreckage as best as they can on their own. The driver, Charlie, who has escaped unhurt, is seen helping the children before the rescue responders arrive about 25 minutes later. He immediately realizes that he is the one responsible for the accident, and the scene fades to black. It then cuts to a flashback of Charlie 6 hours earlier at his home, relaxing after a stressful afternoon shift. He clearly has no plans to go anywhere. He's sitting in robe and slippers watching a movie. The narrator points out that Charlie is a veteran driver of 16 years and has never had a single incident in all that time he's been driving a school bus. On the table beside him is a box of Kleenex, a bunch of used Kleenex, and a bottle of cold medicine. He happens to be next in line in rotation to sub, and when the phone rings, it is his dispatcher asking him to do just that. The Fairfield football team needs a ride to the game tonight, and the scheduled driver has canceled at the last minute. Now, Charlie knows he shouldn't take that trip, especially since he's not feeling well, but there's no one else available to drive. And he figures in the end, the extra money, it'll be worth it. When he finally reports to work, he finds out he's been assigned a bus that he has never driven before, and he needs to go to a field that he has never been to before. His supervisor assures him that bus 32 is just like his regular bus, and that the coach can get him where he needs to be. Oh, and by the way, you're late. So the last scenes show Charlie beginning his usual thorough pre-trip, but he's interrupted by his dispatcher, who comes over to tell him that the coach is impatiently waiting and he needs to get up, move on. He needs to hurry up. That 3-second exchange is all the time that it takes for Charlie to miss seeing a bulge in the left front tire. Because of this, Charlie continues his now flawed pre-trip, and bus number 32 will leave the yard for the last time. So, frame of mind, critical. Your frame of mind is your outlook, your attitude, your approach, and your mindset. A mental frame or lens that selectively organizes and encodes information, thereby orienting on an individual toward how they respond to or how they respond to things in the past projected onto their future. So we'll take a look at outlook. We'll talk about all these in some detail. So keeping it positive, I'll just read you a study from the Mayo Clinic, suggests that positive thinking and a good attitude help to better your physical well-being and helps you cope better under stressful situations anywhere, at work, at home, doesn't matter. If you display a good attitude, your coworkers will as well. Why? It is contagious, making it easier to do what? Interact with each other, communicate, make it easier to open up to the people that you're working with. So a smile makes a big difference. And I understand that we're wearing a mask now, but I can still hear all of you when you're talking, like you can hear me. Words matter. A kind word makes a difference. It doesn't have to be a lengthy dissertation. A kind word. Hi, good to see you. Good morning, have a seat, get on board. It doesn't matter what it is. It makes a huge difference. To the children, especially. So imagine this. You're in your bus and you ignore the children that come on board. You're not approachable. You can't ask them questions. They feel intimidated being on your bus. Put yourself in their shoes. What if you walked into the building, no one greeted you, you were ignored, no one made eye contact with you, no one offered the first hello to you, you went out to dispatch and they're busy, don't get me wrong, but they toss the keys to you rather than putting the key on the counter, for instance. Or you had a question and you feel like you can't approach one of the trainers because, our head's down and we're busy. Or Valerie, or dispatch, or Burry and Al, for heaven's sake. How would that make you feel? Maybe you weren't valued. Maybe you don't even want to be here. It makes a big difference. So, skimping on a pre-trip, and we're going to be talking about this more than once, if you're not in the right frame of mind, can lead to a mistake that can be fatal. How many of you have gone off route without notifying dispatch just because you just don't want to get on the radio? Sometimes, right? How many of you are running late and don't want to turn your DVIR? So here's what happens. Get home, forgot my keys in the bus. Oh, and I also didn't turn in my DVIR. So this is what you'll hear. You've probably heard this on the road yourself. Is anyone out in the yard who can go get the keys from 719, the DVIR, and oh, by the way, they left a backpack in there. You're making other people do your work. I'm not saying you're doing it on purpose, but if you're mindful about what you're doing, you won't forget to fill out your DVIR. Oh, by the way, fill out your DVIR the correct way. You won't forget your keys in your bus. And you won't leave the lost and found. They just ask you to bring in. How many of you have sped through the yard? What's the speed limit? 5. Why is that? Because we care about everybody else who's walking around in there. I appreciate it when everybody else is going slowly while I'm walking through the yard. How many of us have gotten tired of saying the following? Wait for me to cross you, wait for me to cross you, wait for me to cross you when kids are getting off the bus. It's incredibly boring to my ears, let alone to theirs. Switch it up. Law says we have to say one thing to students when they're getting off the bus, just one. Doesn't have to be the same thing. Use a handrail. Don't forget to stop. I'm going to cross you the middle of the street. You have to stop again. I don't care what it is, but you've got to say one thing. You can say it cheerfully. They can hear you, but it has to be done. Frame of mind. How would you feel if you didn't say those things or you didn't do those things and something went wrong? You wouldn't feel good. Guaranteed. And I don't know what it looks like. Oh, attitude is in the middle of the sentence. Anyway, the bottom line is you're showing respect. If you want to receive it, you need to show it. It takes more effort to be grumpy and negative than it does to be positive and open. Learn to relax. Maybe close your eyes for just a second. We can't always pull over and take a deep breath, but there's stop signs and signal lights and, in between your runs. Take that time. Train yourself to clear your mind. Your enthusiastic smile and cheerful greeting to the children you transport makes a difference in their entire day. Think about what I just tried to describe. If you don't greet the children, if you're not greeted at the building, if you don't say hello, you're ignored in the building, it doesn't make you feel good. It sets the tone for the entire day. And don't forget this, you guys have heard this before too. We are the first, the last, and sometimes the only representative from the district that parents see, the only one. For heaven's sake, make it a good one, right? Do not be the driver that pulls up to the stop and there's little Elise crying again because she has to ride your bus and she doesn't like you. You never listen to me. I'm being bullied in the back. You ignore me. Nothing speaks volumes louder than a child who's excited to see their bus come down the road. That's the kind of driver and bus that I want to put my child on. Kids are excited to be with you. You are entrusted with the lives of other people's children. Not just their lives, but their well-being. Oh my goodness. All right. The little yellow school bus. Again, I will do my best. This clip features Katie Womack, a school bus driver for ESD number 112 in Washington State. Her professed love for children, combined with the morning-afternoon driving shifts, make driving a school bus a perfect job for her. She can drive the children in the morning and the afternoons and have all the hours in between to do the things she needs to do to manage her own household. She's shown truly caring for the children on her bus. She's positive, happy, and most importantly, engages with each young student on her bus. Her careful and complete pre-trip is just the beginning of her day. She admits that one must, like children, be understanding, be patient, and show tolerance. No matter what you're feeling on the inside, we transport the world here. And that's what I tell people. They go, oh, you're just a school bus driver? I go, oh, no. Can't say that. We see the world. Their house rules may be different than mine, but the rules on the bus are consistent and fair. And I drive a happy bus. I don't care if it's loud necessarily, as long as it's happy. She proves in the video as she deals with the riders in her care. Oh, and one more thing. She admits that a driver's attention can never waver from what is happening on the road outside around her. But her favorite reward, you probably all have gotten some of these, the spontaneous handmade drawings and gifts offered by the children she transports. I kept my very first one. You know what it was? I used to drive for another district. The student I was picking up lived in a house where the mother grew heirloom roses. Guess what I got one day? A rose. Guess what that rose was? That was the winning rose that she was growing for the state fair. So I took it, smashed it in I had a different kind of outline, smashed it. I still have it. And when I get all those little drawings, I get those little pictures, and I get the last one I got when we were still driving last winter was an apology. I'm so sorry, Miss Bus Driver. My name is never spelled right. I don't care. I will be better in the future, tomorrow, next day. I still have that too. I have a folder stuffed with those. So she ends by saying, those little things make the tough times go away because you have this sweet little child who appreciates you. That's awesome. It's a beautiful reward. Would you want to work with her? I would. Would you want to put your children on her bus? I definitely would. So be the kind of driver that is a positive one. So the effect you have on your coworkers, enormous. I just got done talking about the kids and how they can respond to you and how you respond to them. Not any different than the people that we work with. Just like I said, it only takes a second to say, I haven't seen you forever. It's good to see you. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn conversation. It's like, wow, I need help with, I get this asked all the time. I need help reading this outline. I don't know where I'm going. Or what does this mean on the outline? Or I can't get my lift to work. Or, sometimes it's just being helpful. Be approachable. Take the time to say that. And if you don't know, for heaven's sakes, find somebody who does. But be a good effect on the people that you work with. Goes without saying. If you're here after getting a full night's sleep and you're ready to go to work, it will make it easier for you to not, number 2, blow through a yellow light. No, nothing happened last time. Why do I have to stop? Well, I'm going to tell you that rolling through a yellow is the same as rolling through a red in the school bus. I really didn't make a full stop at that stop sign, but nothing happened. It's okay. It's fine. No, it's not. It's not. How about patients for children that are running late? Remember what Al said? We're like, this is a whole new era. We have to get in a different zone. Kids are late already. You have no idea what they're leaving from their house to get on your bus, or leaving from that school to get on your bus to go home. Sometimes school is better than home, by the way, and some of you have experienced that. Saying good morning. Tell them at the end of the day to have a good day. Be consistent. Have them be excited to see you the next day. Be a consistent piece in their life. So here are a few things. Again, I'm going to try my best. This is a really good video. I'm really sorry you couldn't see it. These are some of the things that people say when they're dealing with this kind of job. In this video, we watch a driver approaching their bus, highlighting the professional driver's responsibility that starts, once again, with a scrupulous pre-trip and asks, do every one of us perform an inspection for the 1000th time, the same way we did the first, to find that one or more part that is not functioning? Are we all that thorough every single time? Here are some excuses. Nothing's ever wrong with my bus. It was fine yesterday. It just came out of the shop. I'm late. I just don't have the time. Here's my personal favorite. The morning driver checked it. No. Every single time. Excuses? Yeah. In fact, those are words to crash by. At the risk of sounding melodramatic, what could happen if a particular item failed? So I'm going to read you some actual admissions from drivers. These have really happened. I'm not making them up. Over time. The emergency door buzzer was broken, but I didn't think it was important. I thought I could keep an eye on it, but the 2 boys in the back got into a fight while I was concentrating on driving in front of me, and one fell out the back. That has happened. He didn't hear the alarm, right? I knew the windshield wipers weren't working, but it hadn't rained in quite a while. But that day there was a downpour. I had to pull over and radio for help. You can't drive in the rain without wipers. No kidding. Kind of embarrassing what happened to me. I didn't check the gas gauge. Ran out of gas with a bus full of kids on a rainy day in the middle of nowhere. One of my seats was loose, but it didn't seem urgent to fix it. But that day I had to make a panic stop, and one little girl broke her nose. That broken turn signal cost the district a few $1,000s. The car in front of me had no idea I was turning right. Before it was over, the driver spent a few days in the hospital, and I almost lost my job. Well, I've always had the idea that using a seatbelt wasn't all that important. But on this one trip, I had to swerve and hit a soft shoulder. I was thrown into the stairwell. There was this one morning I forgot to check the lug nuts. Before I left my parking space, the wheel fell off. Some of the kids thought loosening them would be a good Halloween trick. Funny, huh? Well, I was in a hurry and didn't really check much of anything. So this is what happened. The driver gets in his bus, realizes he doesn't have brakes until too late. He sails through the yard across the street and ends up in the lot across the street before the bus finally stops. Kind of critical to check your brakes. And the deadliest attitude of all, we were dropping off kids and one of the drivers didn't bother to adjust her crossover mirror. Remember Dan was crossing those, or talking about those, the mirrors you see to the ground in front of your bus? She never saw the little girl under the front of their bus to get her dropped lunchbox. She didn't stand a chance. We can make no mistakes. We can allow none, ever. So how safe are we? Well, you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. We are the safest form of ground transportation, not just in New York or the country, but in the world. It's because of us. It's because we care to do our job the right way every single day. That is because of us. So there's a lot of data up on this chart. But the number I really wanted to focus on was the number in the bottom right-hand corner, because it relates to drivers. Oh, you can't see it, it's blocked out, I'll have to tell you. Attendants and monitors. So the point is, don't forget that if you're lucky enough to have an attendant or monitor on your bus, they're just as valuable to you as the students on board. You can't drive where they're walking around, right? 29 times, some of those injuries happened to the other adult on the bus because the driver moved while they were standing up. Or the attendant didn't tell me that they were going to move to the back and check on little Elise in the back, right? Communicate, be approachable, and be safe. How perceptive are you? Your judgment, your wisdom, and your good common sense. It takes focus, like I think I said before, to stay positive. It takes a lot of work, actually. You can be optimistic without necessarily being happy. So if you think about that, I can be optimistic without being happy. Yes, I can. Know that the next stop or tomorrow is going to be a good day, even though I'm not feeling terribly happy on the inside. That can be done. Negative thoughts will hold you back. They narrow your focus and they don't allow you to expand your thoughts and be as positive as you can be. Nelson Mandela, one of my heroes. We do have the ability to adjust to anything. Here's someone else I greatly admire, Henry Ford. He said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Thoughts are things. Your belief becomes your thoughts. Mahatma Gandhi. Act on those, right? You have a choice. You have a choice. So make a good one. Positive thoughts give you the energy to lift yourself up, and they set you free to choose a different path. Quite possibly, maybe even a wiser path. And that leads to good judgment calls. No one can teach that. You had to have it come from inside. So, oh gee, another activity. Don't you love these? Okay, so of all these emotions that are up here, let's start with the one on the top left, anger. So if you're angry, how do you think you're gonna be able to do your job? Well or not? I suggest you cannot do your job well when you're angry. Why? Because you're distracted. What did I just say? If you're negative and you have a narrowed focus, and you're only thinking about you, perhaps, and not including everyone else around you, not only on sitting behind you, but out on the road out in front of you, that's going to limit your choices on how you react to them. Agreed? Absolutely. So how about anxiety and fear? They're kind of the same thing. Remember when I was talking about not feeling confident enough to ask a question if you needed help? If you thought that you weren't respected or you just didn't feel comfortable asking that question, what would that do? That would block all of those avenues to you forever. You wouldn't get the help that you needed, right? How about depression and sorrow? Sorrow is more intense than just sadness. What it does is it disengages you. Again, you're kind of focused on yourself, not everyone else around you, and that has an impact on your judgment and how you do your job. But look at that one on the bottom right, excitement. Don't you remember the first time you got to drive, how awesome that was? Maybe a little bit nervous? Nervous is good. You're driving 18 tons down the road full of other people's children. Being nervous is good. Being excited is even better because it helps you focus in a positive way how you do your job. So, attitudes, emotions affect our thought process and our ability to function in a safe manner while we're driving. Take the time to manually reset. Physically do that for yourself, whatever it is. Close your eyes and take a second while you're not driving. Take a deep breath. Take several deep breaths. Just make it happen because the consequences could be very negative if you don't. So, environmental preparedness. This is really kind of focusing on when we teach drivers how to drive defensively. You're seeing what's out there. You have a plan on how to deal with it, and then you can execute that plan, right? So again, number one, what is it? The pre-trip, right? You're only as good a driver as your bus is safe to drive. What things are not under your control? Snow, the wind, the rain, road work, closed streets, et cetera, et cetera. When you look to your future and drive there, you'll have a better outcome than reacting every single time. Have a plan. When we train, we call it the what if game. What if that kid riding the bicycle to my left hits a pot, or my right hits a pot? Let's start over again. That kid riding a bike to my right hits a pothole and pops into my lane. Do I have room to get away from them? What if that truck going down the freeway with a ladder tied on the top of its truck, the ladder flies off? What would I do, right? That takes conscious effort, and that is putting you in a positive place to make good judgments. Oh my gosh. So if you're new here, you'll hear this a lot. We talk about route sheets a lot. If you do not, update your route sheets. The people who come behind you will be very unhappy sometimes because the turns aren't the same, the stops aren't the same. You do something different that's on the route sheet, which is a big no-no, thou shalt not. Drop anyone off at their stop that's not assigned to them. Think of the people coming behind you. Now, everyone knows you have to make a left turn at Mo to get to the street. No. Not everybody knows. Not everyone's from here. If the directions say make this left, but you really need to make a right, fix it. That's how people get lost. And when people get lost, it makes them frustrated. It makes it harder to focus on what you need to do because now you're worried about you're lost. Now you're no longer on time. And then it cascades from there. And it's never a good thing. So please consider the people coming behind you as a sub. You need to read those things. All right. Your level of expertise, and I skipped the page. Hold on here. Oh, yes. The final piece of talking about the frame of mind. Your know-how, your knowledge, how capable you are. So, talked about it before. Don't be afraid to ask for advice or help. I know all the trainers, we're here for you. I know everyone in dispatch is here for you. Valerie's here for you, all the way up to Bernie and Al. Don't let anything go unanswered. Student management questions, routing questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody who does. Don't go away frustrated because you do not know. All right. So remember that football team? The final video that I can't play, unfortunately, fills in some more of the missing facts about that night. A victorious and exuberant team has now boarded the bus for the ride home. They only have a few miles to go when it finally happens. That left front tire blows at high speed on the freeway. Charlie struggles to handle the out-of-control bus. Thank goodness there's a guardrail between them and the drop-off, but they're hung up on it. They're stuck at the back end of the bus out in the traffic lane. And what does he discover when he opens up his emergency triangle box? Guess. It's empty. No triangles. A setup for catastrophe that will involve everyone connected with bus number 32, including the driver of the loaded semi closing the gap toward them. But Charlie and the football team don't even see it coming. A crash could not be avoided, or could it have been? Afterwards, the National Traffic Safety Board had a lot of questions to answer about why the football team never made it home that night. Questions about the driver, the vehicle, the conditions, and the environment of that night. What do you guys think caused that crash? Just say it out loud. What caused that crash? Say it again. Pre-trip. Even before then, how was Charlie feeling? Yeah. What about the dispatcher that came out and interrupted his pre-trip? Was that the best time to be talking to him? Do you see how the perfect storm was kind of created for this to happen? And it really did happen. Children did not survive. Some kids never made it home that night. Keep your head in the game all the time. So hopefully that kind of brings together attitude, job performance, and your expertise. Don't assume, well, the triangles are in that box in September. Why would I bother looking in January? Because somebody else might have used that bus and had used those triangles, by the way, and they're not in there anymore. So, experience. All the experience you have does not always prevent bad things from happening. That's kind of how life works. But a good driver will not only have knowledge of defensive driving skills, but they will use them every day. Don't you wish you kind of could do that? Just pull over and stop and close down. So this restaurant was able to close down, fire some people, retrain others, and open back up. Can we do that? No. But you can take a couple seconds and do that reset. Because you take the time to become an expert and a veteran. Can you be both? Oh yeah. Can you be one, not the other? Absolutely. What's the difference? An expert takes the time to research options, to stay current about their job and different safety perspectives. But it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Experience. Because what happens when you do the same thing every day and everything goes along smoothly, and then you start to think, oh, it won't happen to me. You know what we call that? Complacency. You know what we say after that every time? Complacency kills. Why? Because you lose focus. You assume. You can never assume. Ta-da. Again, nothing bad ever happened to me. I ran that yellow light. It's no big deal. Cross the fog line to turn into school. Yeah, I know. It's illegal to drive on the shoulder, but I had to get into school. I was running late, right? Light's green. I'm going to go. I'm going to pass everybody on the right. Oh, no, you're not. Oh, no. That's being complacent because nothing happened to you last time. Doesn't mean you're not doing something illegal, and nothing can happen to you this time, right? There's a whole variety of those, right? Now, I know Elise always complains when she gets on the bus. I didn't say anything to her last week, and I'm not going to say anything to her today. She can figure it out on her own. Oh, no. No, you're not. All right. This little video is about a woman named Helga Brown, 78 years old, and celebrating her 44th anniversary working as a school bus driver. She's shown piloting a school bus down a busy street as she talks about why she loves her work. The district reveres her and her experience. She is routinely sought out for advice. Even though some of her other colleagues wonder why she's kept at it for so long, Helga admits that some of them think, and I quote, they think she's crazy. Her response, and again I quote, What else would I do? Sit around and get fat? I love this job. The kids and the parents, I love working with them all. If I have a problem, I try to work it out with them. Helga drives special needs students that don't require an aid. She admits that she sets expectations from day one and is consistent in enforcing the rules. Germans are kind of tough like that, she concedes. At the end of the chat, we see her outside her bus at the end of the day. Her final words are, "But this will be my last year." And as she turns to walk away, she looks back with a big grin on her face and she says, "I think." She's still at it, by the way. She's now 79 and still driving a school bus. But why? Her attitude works for the job that she's doing. Say it again? No? So, her attitude as a driver matter. And I'll tell you, or I'll read to you this little letter. This bus driver, Miss Palmer, helped a little boy. Hernandez wrote that he was teased for being small for his age, but that his bus driver protected him. Even though he didn't like always going to school, he loved riding the bus and appreciated her being there to say things like, "Good morning, have a great day, and remember to make good choices." He told her, "You were the adult in my life, the only adult in my life that told me I could make a difference and I could do anything I put my heart to." Kind of gives me goosebumps to read it. That is one of the reasons why I like what I do and why I keep doing it. But it's not just us as drivers. Here's an attendant. Why do the kids love her? Because she lets them pick up books that she reads every day. That's awesome. She takes the time, and that's the key. She takes the time, and they love her for it. So where are we going? We all have a choice. When you hear someone complaining, maybe turn that conversation around and bring them something good. Or how about this? Stop reading negative things in the morning before you come to work. Go on a news diet. Like this morning, I looked at this cute little hedgehog. It made me smile. Loved it. Okay? Try to spend more time around positive people. It will only do you good. Ignore people when they start being negative, or respond to everything they say with 2 positive remarks. Make sense? Good. All right, so, oh my gosh, there's a test. Are you guys ready? Safety is a frame of mind. I can't hear you. Beautiful. Your attitude does not impact safety. I'm so glad you guys are paying attention. Getting a good night's rest can help you improve your attitude. Lovely. Children and coworkers react to your attitude? Yeah. What kind of driving behavior can result from negative attitudes? Yeah, it would be all of the above. Is it blocked out? Yeah, all of the above. All of the above. Nice. So, I will leave you with this. Always say a kind word, because your kindness is a reason for many others to do the same. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Elise. Great job, appreciate it. Get out of here. Looks like they all went to sleep at High School East. I'm watching them now, look at that. There's Bernice drooling in the background. Okay, so just a couple of reminders. A while back, you all should have gotten an email that says you have to go log on to Safe Schools, use your employee ID number, and do all those classes, presentations, whatever they are, that you have to watch to get credit for. And they include the HASCOM, the bloodborne pathogens, sexual harassment, HASCOM, and other things, mandated reporter. And I know that the cutoff date on some are in September, on others early October. What I highly recommend you do is get that done now. I've done mine. I know others in the office have done theirs already. just get it out of your way. You don't need to be messing with that come September, October timeframe. So that'd be appreciated. Don't forget, if you have any questions, to email me, any questions or any concerns. And you can include me and Bernie, and one of us will get back to you. I appreciate it. I ask that when we get ready to come to work, starting with dry runs on, that you come with an open mind, open heart, that you're flexible, that you're positive in your attitude, so we can get through these trying times together. Trust me, everybody is stressed, and the stress level is above the head. All of us, most likely. So we need to get, work together to get through this difficult period. And last but not least, practice safe habits, from thorough hand hygiene to wearing a mask and social distancing. I appreciate it. All those rules are really there to protect each other, right? From something bad happening. Again, you can believe in COVID or you can think it's a hoax. I know close friends, family members who got it, and some worse than others. So I don't want to play with it. I'm not going to take that risk, and hopefully you won't either. So we got a couple of minutes. Any questions at all about any topic that you may be thinking about? High school lease, anything over there?
We have one over here, Al. Hang on.
Will you be doing time cards in the fall? Payroll's right there, and the answer is no.
Belinda, repeat the question.
It was, will we be doing time cards in the fall? But Anastasia is here and answered that and said no.
No time card?
No time cards for permanent drivers and attendants.
And how are we going to capture like extra work if we do any extra work?
So the substitutes will sign in on a sign-in sheet that will be in the dispatch office at the dispatch ledge. They will sign out their time out. We will have their names, their work that they're doing, and the time in. They will sign out, and then we will initial it. Because I'm talking to him. Walk away from there.
Okay, Ken, you had a question?
As far as the number of windows, can we track all of them?
So the question is, cracking the windows open. Someone mentioned front, middle, back, and Ken is asking, can you crack all of them open? Yeah, no one said, I know I have not said a limit. You can crack them all, some of them, roof hatches, anything to keep that positive airflow going. You can turn on the interior fans as well. If that helps, just remember once the guidance is that once the temperature hits 45 degrees or below, they don't want us opening the windows. So I would keep the interior fans on to keep the air circulating at any rate. So judgment call. Other questions? Candy's got a question. Go ahead.
What we sign on to Google Lines as far as seeing who's bid what tomorrow?
I'm not following your questions.
When on the master list, when we did it in summer, we went on to something that showed who had bid.
Yes.
What they had bid.
Yes.
Which is that?
All right. So Candy's asking about how can she see who's bidding on what on the master bid sheet, correct? Yeah, so same process. You'll be looking at that spreadsheet and you'll be watching as whoever bids, Bernie or somebody in the bid room will type their name and you will see that within a second or two after they type it.
Is there a special one that we have to go on? What I thought in order to see.
Yeah, you should have that link already. So Candy, this is what I would do if you're still not sure. Stop in the office and we will show you the email. Yeah, everyone should have gotten the email with the links to the different Google Forms to include the master bit sheet that you can pull up and look at. Anastasia is frozen.
No, I'm actually looking at something else. Belinda, go ahead and ask your question. Do you want to ask it for everybody else so they can hear it? The question that might be? Okay. We don't have a question, I guess, here now.
Okay,
I have a question here at East.
go ahead.
If you have a bus run and it says you have, like a lot of the high school runs have more students on the run than actually ride the run, how would the driver make a seating chart in that case?
That's a good question. So typically with high school runs, we overload them because, for example, we may put 90 kids on a 66 passenger, but in reality, only 20 are going to ride. Let me circle back on that with the team, and we'll put an answer on an email to everybody later on. Let me make a note. Okay, next.
I have another question over here. Driver wants to know if a student gets sick in the middle of the run, are they going to have to immediately stop and clean the bus, or can they wait until they are done?
So if you're talking about someone throwing up?
Yes.
So if someone throws up on the bus, standard procedure, I would move kids away from them, even if you have to double up, so long as they're wearing a mask, move them away, and you'd have to, as soon as you drop, come back and we'll have another bus ready for you. So you can continue on because we're on a tight schedule. And we'll do the.
I have one more question over here, Al. Will the drivers be able to get their outlines to do their dry runs ahead of time or not until the day of the dry run?
Okay, so getting the outlines is going to take a couple of days after bidding to, do what we need to do and then get them to print out and to get them ready for you. So we're not going to have them the day of bidding, but we should have them within a couple of days after bidding. You should be able to get them before your first dry run day, but I'm not going to promise you on that. Any other questions?
You want to ask? Wait a minute. Got one more question, Al. Go ahead, Lisa. Keep asking.
Great.
Go ahead.
If you have a run during the course of the day and that particular school closes, like for if you have a Saratoga BOCES noon time and that school closes, do you have to substitute, or do you how is that going to work?
That's a good question. We got to give that some thought. Again, there's a lot of unknowns that's going to take place, and we will have to work those through together. I don't have an answer for you right now. And that could really go for our own schools. You drop off in the morning and something happens and we're notified midday, there's a positive case as an example. So we got to work through all those mechanics yet, right? So let me backtrack a little bit. If there's a case, so if you bring the kids in and later on that morning, for example, a student feels sick, goes to the nurse, the child is running a temperature, has the classic symptoms of maybe COVID all of a sudden, the district is going to notify everybody within the district that there's a potential. Now, let me backtrack. If a kid is sick, they're going to isolate that kid and have the parents actually come and pick up that child. If the child gets tested and he's positive, then the district will send out an email to list all Shen. Instead of before, they were doing it by building, whatever. This time you will know that, okay, Scano, there's a positive case, or Guana, whatever the case might be. That's how they're going to do it. But it'll be for the entire district. So initially, they'll isolate the child. They will call the parents, and the parents have to make arrangements to go and get that child. Last year, in previous years, we didn't do that, correct? They would call transportation for the most part. And even last night, I said, even parents who don't have a car, they live in Clifton Park, but don't have a car, they have to make arrangements with a neighbor, with a family member, with somebody to come and get their child. And the reason for that is, it's really not fair to you guys, and we're our older demographics, and we have our own health issues, to have you go and pick up a child who is sick, and we don't know what's going on with that child, and have you take them home. So we don't want to do that. Other questions? Go ahead, Elise.
Yeah, remind me again about day variants and bus passes.
So we're not going to do bus passes, and I'll tell you, so all these rules, all these procedures and changes and all that, as you know, when politics begin to play in the operational game, then all bets are off. Right now, no bus passes. And if you watched the live stream last night, you would have heard that as well. It makes absolutely no sense for us to have gone through all this planning, all this gyration, changing the entire routing system, to now turn around and say, oh, no, we can have bus passes, and, you know, kids begin on different buses every day going different places. It makes no sense to have gone through and taken furniture out of all the classrooms to make space for, and then split the kids out, right? On the elementary side, no more than 15 to 18 per classroom, socially distanced. Then to turn around and say, oh, by the way, when it comes to transportation, it could be helter-skelter and kids can go on whatever bus they want through bus passes. So far, I'm not getting pushback on that. But politics, be it as it may, who the hell knows come September, October, November, right? So that's one part to your question is bus passes. The day variant, what we're trying to do with the day variant is we want a set schedule. By law, we cannot tell the parent that they cannot have 2 days of daycare and the other 3 days from home. The governor did not suspend that law, did not suspend that regulation. And so we have to continue to do that. But what we're trying to do is pin it to the same schedule week in and week out. So again, we're not having kids potentially be on several different buses every week, different buses because of different schedules. Yes.
Going back to the sick child, if somebody throws up or says they're not feeling well, we used to just send it in with another student, or, you know, call in. Are they going to send a nurse out or a aide to get these kids off the bus and send them on class first?
So the question is about a sick child on the bus getting sick. We used to, in the past, call ahead and then we would send the child in to the school with another student. I don't think we're going to be doing that this year. So again, let me make a note and see how the schools are going to be handling that, and I'll get that answer out in an email. Just give me a second. Okay, good question. Next. Anybody else? I can't hear you.
I have a concern on bidding tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm a dual employee.
Yep.
And if I don't get the money, I would like to get entangled with an elementary afternoon. My hours don't allow me to be at the school for 1:30. So what happens between two positions? What do I do? Like with the kitchen, the hours are 10:30 to 1:30. But if I have to leave the elementary school 1:30, what happens?
So work that out with Katie Headwell. She's flexible. All right. I've seen an email from her on that subject. She's flexible. So the dual employees, right? The schedule, and here, this is about the kitchen help. The kitchen piece ends at 1:30 is what you're saying, right? And then you got to be on the run at 1:30, correct? Yeah, so we posed that to Katie Headwell, and the first thing you got to understand, transportation takes precedent. That's just the bottom line. Just simply because of the certification you got to go through as a bus attendant or the certification you got to get through as a school bus driver. You can't just simply grab somebody and make them a sub. You just can't do that. It's easier for the schools and the cafeteria, the kitchens, whatever, food service staff to do that. So that's why we say transportation is the priority. But they're willing to work. They know the schedules are tight, no fault of your own. And we'll work with them as well to try to make it happen on a case by case. Elise, you had a question?
Sorry if I'm asking a question that was answered last night because I missed the presentation, but the tipping point is going to be, if I'm in high school, my run is overloaded, a lot of kids are being driven in, but they're now getting on my bus to go home. The tipping point is 75% capacity, then I'm going to ask for another bus for the overfill?
Yes. So the tipping point will be 75% capacity, and yeah, call in and see what we can do to do that. We're getting, just so you know, the high schoolers are getting a whole lot more requests for them to drive themselves in. But you got to remember, again, sometimes our biases from our past experiences is probably clouding how to look forward, and maybe we haven't paid attention to different things. Only half of the high school kids are going to be on buses on any given day. Same with the middle school on any given day, right? So don't think about the entire student body being transported as we did prior to March the 13th, 2020. It's half and half, right? Half of the kids come in Monday, Tuesday, the other half Wednesday, Thursday, and it's a rolling schedule. Then Monday, Tuesday starts again on Friday, Monday. You can see how it rolls, right? It's confusing, but for you, you just do your route, and whoever is there, you pick them up.
I have a question. If in the morning, if a student that it doesn't belong to your bus stay over to someone else's house and show up at your stop, are we refusing him to transport it? Are we taking him now that we are not taking any bus passes?
No, we're not going to refuse transportation for any child. It would be unconscionable for us to leave someone out there. The one thing we don't know is our parents' home. What does that child do? Okay, so as a caring professional, we're not going to do that, but we're going to highlight that, report it, and see how we can fix it so it doesn't happen again. So I got a question here in the audience. Go ahead, Cheryl.
So will sixth grade then go into elementary since they're going to be all day?
No.
Or will they still go into the middle school? They'll just go in with A's and B's.
Correct. So the middle school sixth graders will come in with the middle school on the A or B day, although the sixth graders will be coming every day, 5 days a week. And while we're talking about that, for the orientation, so in the back, I was doing my emails. I got an email from John Burns, the principal at Acadia. He said for orientation, only the sixth graders will be brought in. So remember I said September the 10th and 11th, Thursday, Friday, we're going to do orientation for the middle school. Initially, I thought it was all of them. And he just emailed me not too long ago saying, no, it'll just be the sixth graders that day, for those 2 days.
All right, so the 7 through 12, they have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, rotating schedule. So we're gonna have 2 separate outlines, 2 separate neighborhoods we're doing, one neighborhood Monday, Tuesday, one neighborhood Wednesday, Thursday?
No, not separate outlines. You're going to have one outline. You're not. There's no 2 different routes. At least is Tammy on there? I don't want to misspeak for her on her behalf. Is Tammy online? I guess not. So it's going to be one route, one neighborhood, and you're picking up a set of kids on Monday, again on Tuesday, on Wednesday, Thursday will be the other set of kids. Same neighborhood, exactly. Same stops, same everything. So, and this is again part of the reason why we had to wholesale do changes to routing and all that good stuff. Yeah, well, it's a day variant, yes, in that sense. I mean, you'll be out there every day, because that a dad tried to actually use that excuse, like you just said it, to get us to have a day variant roll in with his kids' school days for where that child gets dropped off. And you can imagine that there's no way we can keep up with that kind of madness when you're talking, you know, a couple of thousand kids who may have that kind of a day variant schedule. So you guys will be out there every day. Just think of it as normal every day. It's whoever at that stop, that's who you'll pick up. And you may get pushback. So let me just say this, Larry. So if you come up on a stop and you got 5 kids there on Monday and Tuesday, but we have 6 assigned, that 6th kid is there Wednesday, Thursday, you may get some push from the parents to move the stop to their house. We're not doing that. We're not entertaining that. The stop is the stop, whether it's 1 child or 6 kids. Please keep that in mind. Don't make any deals. Don't change it. Yes, Larry.
2 attendant lists, A and B, or just 1 attendant?
It's going to be 1, so you'll have to, you know, figure out who's the A and B. Okay, other questions? Anybody out there? High school lease, any questions? Laura?
Yes, if a student makes a mistake and is waiting at the stop on the wrong day, do we bring him or her in or send them back home?
Well, if they get on the bus, I guess you're going to bring them in, and then the parents are going to have to come and get them. That's just the way it is. If you find out, and it depends on the age, we're not going to send a 2nd grader or 3rd grader, no parents out there, back to the house alone. Well, I'm just saying that, right? So it's age dependent.
Thank you.
Yeah. If it's a high schooler, I would say, hey, Al, you know you're supposed to be on, and they may have changed. So you got to remember, while we're doing, so let me explain this to you. For example, A day is last name starts with an A. That's how they're going to do it, all the way up to LA, right? Those kids are coming on A day. You could have someone whose last name start with a Z coming in on A day. Why do you think that is? Who can tell me? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Stepsister, stepbrother. We have families that have different, the same kids, right, in that family have different last names. And so we don't want to split the siblings just because of their last name. So the siblings will be coming in together. So you have to be cognizant of that. You don't want to kick someone who's, you know, on your A through LA day just because their last name starts with a Z, right? They'll put us in hot water. So you got to really scrub, and you got to really get intimately familiar with your attendance sheet, who should be on your bus. And I know it's a lot of work, folks, and we're asking a lot. And unfortunately, there's no other way about this, but we have to do it. So question in the back? No? Okay. That don't look like Belinda Govich, but go ahead.
Al, Anthony Fernardi asked, are private schools returning or running on the same schedule?
Well, that's a great question. Since we're talking private schools and parochial schools, let me say, only God knows. Honestly, so, for example, Emma Willard is not going to start till October. When in October, I don't know. You're going to have variances like that. You're going to have some schools that will start later, some schools are earlier. Tech Valley, we got 2 kids going to Tech Valley High School. They don't both go on the same day, right? So in the way Tech Valley set up is 1 week in, 1 week out. The good thing about it is that we'll be going there every day because you got one kid going 1 week and the other kid going the other week. So you got all these crazy variances out there. This is why, and I wish on my slides, on every slide, I put the word flexibility, so to kind of like get an indelible mark in everybody's brain housing group. We have to be flexible. We have to be flexible. It's not the old, same old, same old. And I'm still trying to figure it out, folks. I am still trying to figure it out. And every day I get bombarded with something different. And we have to tweak and we have to change and do this and do that. This is why we asked the union to really, if they can suspend Article 15, not because we're mean, not because we think you're dirt or we're going to walk all over you. It's because the language ties our hands and we cannot have them tied because every day something new is being thrown at us. And we have to provide the transportation. So long as we're open, and other schools are open, however they are open, we have to provide that transportation. It's not a slap to your face that we ask for that MOA. It has nothing to do with it. I'm not here to screw over anybody. God bless you, and I thank you for being here. And I thank you for not leaving and resigning. Because we need you. You're needed. But we can't work in an environment where it restricts us. The contract is a binding document. It restricts us. We can't meet the guidance. We can't meet the varied schedules being thrown at us. We can't do any of that. So keep that in mind as you all continue to debate the MOA. Keep that in mind. And I hope common sense prevails. I really do. All right, so one more question, that's it. Hurry up, ask, or forever hold your, email me your questions.
I have a
Hurry
question.
up.
Can I ask a question? Is there a list somewhere of this non-pubs or some of the schools that are not going to start right away so people know for bidding?
So that should be, if you look on the, Belinda could actually speak to this better than I, but if you look on the master bid for those schools, it will tell you what those days are. You there, Belinda?
She's coming. Hold on.
Hurry up. We got.
She's too busy chit-chatting.
Come on, yeah, exactly. Come on, Belinda.
I'm coming. What do I have to answer?
I don't know. Ask.
What's that? What do you need me to answer?
So the question, right. The question is about private parochial schools, calendars, start dates, end dates, middle dates.
So the reason there's some schools that don't have a calendar date yet is because we have not gotten an account for them yet. They have not given us their calendar days. They have not given us a calendar at all. So we've reached out and spoken to them personally and have asked them for one. But some of them are still not sure what they're doing. Some of them aren't sure what their calendar looks like yet. So as soon as we get it, you'll have it. So unfortunately, we might not have that by tomorrow. So it's to be determined. And as soon as we know the date and the count, we will let you know. And it could be anywhere from 150 days to 180.
And you see the dilemma we're in? There's still people out there that don't know what they're doing.
That answer your question now?
It answers the question. Thank you. Yeah, close out your mic. Thanks. So with that, we're at the end time, 3 minutes to go, but we'll end it now. Thank you so very much. Looking forward to having you all back. Have a pleasant, I guess, rest of the week.
Question about the MOA since you brought it up.
Give me a second, hey.